Heya, favored ones. Welcome to your exit stage left reading, which we will be going over advice from your final incarnate. So, whichever your final life is going to be, we're going to be asking that entity and part of your soul for advice for you in this incarnation. So I will be finding these messages intuitively using Rhapsodomancy divination, which is an ancient form of divination that muses used through verses and scriptures and poetry. Now, if anyone's new here, I'd like to welcome you. Anyone who's been a part of my collective, I want to thank you as well. I appreciate you being here and showing me support, as well as I want everyone to know that this is a general reading and will not resonate with everyone, and that's perfectly okay. There's other readings out there that I do, and you can also pick different pile, as this will be a pick a pile reading. More so pick a group, since there isn't going to be any piles, since we're using symbolic placements. As well as I don't do any personal readings at this time, so if you get anyone soliciting you messages or hitting you up in your DM saying, hey, I have a message from the divine for you, it's a scam. I will never ever go into your private messages or in the comment section being like, hey, you need to do this, give me money. That's not going to happen. That's a scam. So please take care of yourself and your hard-earned money. All right, for pile group number 1, we have the end of a candle, one of those long white candles. So the white candle is group number 1. Group number 2 is a Scrabble letter Z, symbolizing the end of the alphabet, as well as the number 10 symbolizes the end as well. And for last pile, and certainly not least, we have this winged skull ring, like double knuckler. So, yeah, if you wanted to take a bit of time to wean out which one you want to pick, or if you want to pick multiple, that's certainly fine as well. I will have the timestamps listed below. All right, let's get into this. Pile number 1. If you chose the very end of this white candle, then this pile is for you. So white candles are usually used in magic for any sort of ritual. You can use in replacement of any other colored candle. But in this case, I feel like that could be an indicator that this is your pile, as if you do rituals and like nothing serious. It could just be like lighting a candle for protection, which I feel like you could be doing. And also white symbolizes innocence, also working with the divine. So in your final life, I feel like have found your innocence, and since it's also used for all types of things, I feel like in your final incarnate, you're going to be very versatile, as well as working with the divine and innocent divine. So maybe I feel like you could be a guru or a monk, or just someone who keeps to themselves and works with the divine and tries to keep the peace. So we'll bring up the poem. I'm using my own for the Rhapsody divination. All right. Pile number one's advice from their final incarnate, please, spirit guides, guardians, and ancestors. So number 14, which equals number 5, so like big change. Or it could be the number 14. That could be how many times you have reincarnated, and your final time will be on your 14th life. If you do past life regressions and know which one you're on, that could be an indicator and let you know how many more you have to go through before completion and becoming an ascended master. Okay. Tomorrow's shelf. Staying strong, each hardship comes along as each hardship comes along, trudging on each passing day, evasive action against obstacles blocking the way, struggling with every unachieved set goal, regrettable guilt weighing take its toll, procrastination at Procrastination at its best. Endless lectures put my patience to the test. Future accomplishments tower up on tomorrow's shelf. That all changes now. Today, I'm going to believe in myself. So, your final incarnate really wants you to stop procrastinating on believing in your inner innocence. You know, a lot of people with their shadow aspects isn't always their negative side. Some people's shadow side is the fact that they don't believe they can do no wrong. That's their shadow side, is that they believe that they're never mean, they don't talk down on people, they don't gossip. But in your case, I feel pile number one is that you shun any inkling of a possibility that you could have innocence and kindness inside of you, and that you're talented and versatile, and that you yourself is divine and who you are as a person. And I feel like whenever people try to compliment you, it feels like a lecture, or you start lecturing yourself because you're like, oh, but I've done this, this, and this, and this, so I'm not innocent. But like it, and I don't mean innocent in that it absolves you of every mistake you've ever made, because we're human, we all make mistakes. What is your final self thing, your final incarnate, once you start working on, is knowing that regardless of obstacles and the hardships and the things that you had to do in order to survive and make it, you did so, and regrettably. You regret it. Like you regret the times that you were mean to people, and there's the saying, if you look back on things you've done and cringe, then that means that you've learned from that and you've grown and you're no longer that person anymore. So your final incarnate wants you to stop putting your future accomplishments on the shelf of tomorrow, thinking that you'll be more worthy tomorrow. Oh, I'll deserve it more tomorrow because I'll have worked harder. I'll have more experience, I'll have more friends, I'll have more networking. And your final incarnate, your soul, wants you to know that you're worthy to take on those changes today, that it's okay for you to believe in yourself today, and that it is okay to embrace your kindness and the love and your new version of yourself that you've worked so hard to create. And that's what's blocking your way right now, and you're trying to evade the action of embracing yourself with love because you believe that the hardships and the mistakes you've made define you, and it doesn't define you. And I've had to work on that a lot myself. I feel called to tell you that, like, I've gone through recovery. I've gone through being bullied in my younger years and having to learn that, making those mistakes and going through recovery doesn't make me any less. And the people who bullied me and told me I was less aren't the ones who put the effort into me. I wake up and put effort into me every single day. My bullies aren't going to wake up and live my life. My past self doesn't exist anymore. So she's not waking up and living my life anymore. And I think that's what your final incarnate wants you to know is you can wake up and put the effort into yourself today, and you're worth that. You deserve it. You are worth the effort. And it wants you to stop procrastinating and sleeping on how awesome you are. Because even if you struggle to find which steps to first take towards your goal, the fact that you're even thinking about making a change, like number 14 to 5, big change, even though you're only thinking of making that big change, that's putting the effort into yourself. That's at least breathing hope into the idea. So now you just have to believe you deserve it. And no matter what it is or what you've done in the past, if you are doing right by yourself and others today, and even if you're having a bad day, you're still worthy. Bad days, worthy. Good days, worthy. Unsure days, worthy. Need to rest today, worthy. So don't procrastinate on doing things just because you believe of an old narrative. Okay? With the struggling with every unachieved set goal, it seems like you are setting goals, group number 1. It's just whether feeling that you're innocent, like deserving, or that you're versatile and talented and skilled. Even if you're not skilled in something, you can learn that over time, and you're still worthy to learn from the beginning. Like, I really, really didn't think that I could do this channel either, and I didn't think I could learn how to do, any, shuffling, and I learned how to do the Running Man now. Like, that's not the whole shuffle, but it was the fact that I wanted to learn how to dance, and then I went out there and I asked someone to teach me. I looked up videos, and then I got to do the practice. So it's just finding that spark within yourself and letting it glow. Even this tiny light candle can burn brightly, and so can you. So, we're going to get a yes or no question for our group number 1s from your final incarnate. If you want to ask your final incarnate a question, and I'll count down, or you can pause the video while you think of one. And 3, 2, 1. Pile number 1's final incarnate, can you give me a yes or no? They gave me a maybe and said it's up to you and what you're willing to put the work in to. So, oh, they're saying, how does the saying go? It just came to my head. Whether, yes or no, it's whether you believe it. Like, if you believe it's going to happen, then it will happen. If you don't believe it will happen, then you've already won. Like, it's already won. If you don't put in the effort because you don't think you'll ever be successful, then you won't be successful. If you believe you'll be successful and at least try, then yeah, then you tried. That trying is success in itself because you didn't say no to yourself. Oh, I got I. So we have the number 8 and the number 6. Those numbers could be important to you. Ketmet. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it is Setmet. It's one of the Egyptian gods. You may want to look up into it. I also have the word Kermit and Hermit. It wants you to stop being wants you to be less of a hermit. Put yourself out there and don't be afraid to be in the spotlight. I have the name Kim, Michael. Some of you could be working with Archangel Michael for protection, or you could have that name yourself. QHHT, which is like a form of hypnotherapy. I'm not quite versed in it, but if some of you may be looking into that or want to, it will help with more knowing more about your past lives or future lives. So if you're really into this reading and it's something you want to look into. HQ, so you are your own headquarters. So keeping yourself safe and protected and not being mean, like with Iron Man, when Jarvis gets infected and it's no longer a safe headquarters, right? So when you feed into those intrusive thoughts, instead of being like, this is an intrusive thought, I'm having thoughts of I'm having thoughts of doubt, I'm having thoughts that I'm not good enough. You got to separate by saying that I'm having thoughts of them, which isn't you, that's just a thought. And most of the human brain has not so good thoughts out of the day, statistics, and you can learn to do it. I know you can learn how to block out that trudging, like, guilt and regrettable feelings of how you handled things in your past, and move forward knowing that you've learned those lessons and you deserve better. You always deserved better, but now you get to implement it. So TH and Tim, Tick, you could have a TikTok that you wanted to start or something. Yeah, TIKMQH86. Right, that's everything I have for pile group, whatever you want to call it, number 1. This was inspirational even for me. had a few things in there that I'm going to take to heart and work on myself. So thank you for letting me share my poems with you, and I hope to see you in another video. All right, so remember to eat, hydrate, and have fun. All right, see ya. Pile number 2. If you picked the Z tile from Scrabble, then this pile is for you. Z symbolizing the end of the alphabet, as well as number 10 in some numerology symbolizes the end of and completion as well, which is cute considering this is your final incarnation. So it also symbolizes completion, as well as in Hebrew, Z is pronounced or is called Zain. Some of you might like this thing I'm saying, but I don't think that's where it's going. That just could be a little extra confirmation for y'all. But yeah, it symbolizes weapon of spirit, sword, and scepter, which is mastery of words and wisdom. So I feel like in your final incarnate, or inside of this, your final incarnate wants to let me know that during this lifetime you are to be a spiritual warrior, group number 2. You, whether that mean through actual spiritual warfare or just in general, you fight for what's right. Like you could be a spokes activist, like you could be a spokesperson for and an activist for rights and everything else like that. Also, definitely be working against standing up for Ukraine, or you could be from Ukraine, and you could be an actual warrior, protection, and for that, that's incredible, and you're brave, and I'm proud of you, and thank you for doing that, because there's not a lot much that some people can do, and the fact that you have the opportunity and you are doing it is so huge, because I know the letter Z was used on Russian tanks and stuff like that for being used against. Sorry, it's a lot of heavy energy. I feel like you feel a lot of like crying a lot. And your final incarnate wants to remind you that you are a warrior and the divine is with you. And as hard as it may get sometimes, that you were made for this. You have that spark within you to fight and help others, and that's an incredible spirit to have. So we'll move on to the poem side. You, even if you aren't fighting, you could just be, using the scepter means mastery of words. You could also be a spiritual warrior where you're doing like ritual work to like help turn the tides and everything else like that. Depends on what you believe in. I'm not here to make you believe in what I believe. I'm just here to relay messages, and whoever resonates does so. So pile number 2's advice and messages from their final incarnate, please, spirit guides, guardians, ancestors. Some of you may have messages in pile number 1 as well. I'm going to do this again. Please and thank you, guides, guardians, ancestors, spirits, for group numbers 2, final incarnate, please and thank you. So number 13. So 4 could be important to you. If it went for 14 again, I would have read it, but I just feel like some of you may have messages in pile number, group number 1, as their home was number 14. All right, number 13 is called roller coaster pressure. Lifestyle addictions, living contradictions, stuck in an endless cycle bound. Negative effects constantly come around. Strive mending the broken inside. Raise your voice and let your heart be the guide. Turn off your ears. Forget the words of your peers. Your life is waiting, full of your own adventures. No time to spare for unnecessary endeavors. Challenge your fears. Remember, they're not worth your tears. And I felt like that at the very beginning, is that you really want to cry, group number 2. And it's a very cleansing thing to do. Crying is really good for the nervous system. Crying is good for cleansing the soul and the aura. It's good overall if you want to just let it out. If you're shy about that, then just nobody can see your tears in the shower, and plus shower is extra cleansing, so go get it in there. I feel like it's telling you this isn't a game. Everyone else feels like life is a game, and they may be treating you badly because they feel like it's just a game, whether it's a person who's breaking your heart, or spiritual leaders or leaders in general of countries act like our lives is just a game to them, and that they don't take us seriously, whether it's our bodies or our lives or our livelihoods, our dreams. It was 2727, so you may want to look up 2s and 7s. Yeah, they feel like it's a game, and and people gotta be playing the game, and living in the grind, and living lifestyles and certain addictions such as gambling and food and all those, and you're striving to mend the broken inside, and trying to raise your own voice and do what's right by letting your heart be the guide, no matter what the cycle, and trying to end the abuse cycle within communities, within yourself, within your generation, within your family bloodline, with the stuck in an endless cycle bound, and whether or not that's breaking a living contradictions, some practices teach some things, but then they don't follow that honorary code, and it seems like you're speaking out and finding out what's right for your own self, and challenging the fears of having to do it on your own, and you're like, I'd rather stand on my own and be living my truth than to be amongst the crowd and living only in survival mode, and feeling broken inside because you're not living your truth. And you're finding that there's no time to spare for other people's endeavors, and it's unnecessary, and your life is waiting, full of your own adventures. You're leaving behind toxic patterns, situations, circumstances, jobs, family, and you're leaving them behind. Like you could have racist or toxic family members that you have left behind, abusive substances that you had used yourself that you are recovering from. Congratulations. I myself know that is quite a struggle and is oh so worth it. Oh, so worth it. I've had to walk away from over decades long of relationships and family members for that. So I know sometimes you miss them and it hurts and you want to let it out, but you are doing such a good job fighting for what's right and fighting for your own truth, and I'm proud of you. Pile number 2. Yeah, so their advice is to keep following your heart and don't let other people's chatter and like peer pressure and stuff like that get to you, because in the end those people who pressure you and talk down to you aren't happy within themselves either. People who tell you you're not cool unless you're doing something a certain way, people who talk about how you want to live your life aren't happy with their own. And that's the advice from your final incarnate, is not to let people who are projecting their own insecurities and their own happiness onto you, especially when you feel like for once in your life you're finally like you're finally coming around. You're like coming around. It's like I've got that song, finally it's happened to me right in front of my face and I just cannot hide it. Finally you've come along. And it's like, but you're singing it to yourself. It's like, the way I feel about you just can't be wrong. And it's not someone else, it's you, like your own person. You're like, finally, I've come along. This is the person I want to be. And the way I feel about me can't be wrong. The way I'm living my life can't be wrong because I'm happy. And you deserve that. You're allowed to be happy. And if other people aren't happy for you, then they're not happy themselves, and you should remember they're not worth the tears or your time. And if they keep going like that and keep testing you, it's maybe time to cut people off, or at least, set up more healthy boundaries. Some people are only nice in small doses, and that's okay. Some people are good in no doses, and that's okay too. And sometimes it fluctuates, and that's perfectly valid. So I feel like group number 2 is that you're doing really well for yourself, and I'm proud of you. And if no one else is happy for you, I am. Okay. Pile number 2, I'm going to give you a time to come up with a question to ask your final incarnate self. And yeah, so you can pause and come up with a question. I will be counting down. 3, 2, 1. Pile number 2's final incarnate. Can I get a yes or no, please? So we have yes for pile number 2, whatever that answer may be. But yeah. Also really got hot for a minute, so maybe you're turning up the heat on what your adventures are and your endeavors are, and you're like turning up the heat. You're like, you're whatever, you're becoming a hottie. You're becoming that chick or that guy. You're becoming the version of you that you wanted. You're not taking anyone's caca. You're giving yourself the thumbs up. You're giving yourself the validation instead of other people. Before you used to like want other people to like you, give you thumbs up, which is nice. It's nice to that people. It's nice to be liked, but it's even better when you like yourself. And I feel like that's where you're at in your life. I have dolo here, so I feel like a lot of you may be solo dolo right now, like taking on life, not having a smaller quality over quantity lifestyle right now, or just doing things on your own, whether other people are willing to make a stand for that as well. Like for myself, I don't celebrate any of the religious holidays, and a lot of people don't understand that. But to me, it's what I want to do, and it makes me happy on the inside, knowing that I'm following my truth, even though other people may not understand. Even those who aren't religious, they're like, "But it's family dinner," and I'm like, "But it doesn't make me happy." And some of you may not agree with that either, and that's perfectly okay. And if you do, I don't hate on them either. Go ahead. It's not about making a stand against anything, it's about doing what makes you happy. Doodle. Some of you might like to doodle or do memes for as an activist, or do drawings for cartoons for activists, or just any of those on their own. It doesn't have to be for civil rights movement, just to do a doodle. Number 5. Number 6 could be important. So we have 0, 0, or O, O, D, D. It could be the odd duckling, like the odd one out. Some of you could like rap as with OD reminds me of Poltergeist OD. Some of you could have OD'd or have someone who OD'd, and now you're being a spokesperson regarding in lifestyles addictions. I wish you happy recovery, and no matter whether or not when we last used, we're always in recovery. I'm in recovery forever, and I'm happy you're alive and here. And if you got someone who almost passed on, I'm happy, or had passed on. Sorry and condolences for your loss, or if they have survived, I'm happy they're here, and I love you all. That's everything I have for pile group number 2, whatever you want to call it. And I appreciate you listening to my advice from me and your higher final incarnate self coming through for advice. And yeah, I hope to see you in my next videos. Remember to give it a thumbs up and a subscribe if you like my stuff. Or don't. I still love you. Alright, anyways, not to make it weird or nothing. Anyways, I'll see you in my next video. Bye. I'll group people's number 3. If you've chose the winged skull ring, then this group and readings for you. Alright, so I have symbolisms for winged skull rings, and wings symbolizes angels, fairies, spirit, demons, spiritual freedom, and mortality, as well as eternity or totality, wholeness, and timeless for rings. and skull symbolizes death and rebirth. And so some of you during this lifetime may be working with angels, archangels, fairies, demons, spirits, as well as being a spiritual teacher. Some of you might be light workers. Now that could be of any kind. Doesn't mean you just read tarot. You could be vets. You could have been vets. You could be just regular old teachers. You could be doctors, palmists, herbalists, anything that has to do with healing or teaching. It could be authors, architects, builders, but I feel like you are working with your guides and spiritual teams very closely, and your final incarnate wanted to bring that through. So let's see which poem I'm going to be reading off for you. Okay, so group number 3's final incarnates and advice for them, please. Guides, guardians, spirit, angels, and spirit team, please. Thank you. Number 6. So 6s could be important to you. So it's called Get Out. There is no room for doubt. I am withering and flickering out. I'm breaking down. Life's twisted adventures making me frown. Always haunted by the decisions we make, tortured not knowing the last breath we take. But one secret I know without a doubt. You must fight and love if you are to get out. So I feel like a lot of pile number 3s has been doing a lot of fighting with spiritual warfare or alien warfare. It depends on what you believe in, or just societal warfare, as there is definitely a bunch of that going around. And it feels like you're getting close to your breaking point. You feel like, you know, it's all for naught, and your final incarnate wants you to know that you are striving towards spiritual freedom, and that the fact that you keep fighting and you have a pure heart is more than a lot of people develop during their lifetimes. Some of them take many lifetimes to realize that even though something bad happened to them doesn't mean they should become cold and callous and hurt others and continue on what was taught to them. And that you shouldn't be haunted by the decisions you make by letting people in the past who weren't the best for you into your life. Sometimes, you know, we learn lessons the hard way, and that doesn't mean we should be hard on ourselves for the rest of our lives. We already had the hardest lesson, so we definitely shouldn't have to endure being hard on ourselves either. Most people learn lessons like the easy way, and we learned the lessons. I say we because I have definitely learned lessons the hard way, pile number 3. And your final incarnate wants you to be less hard on yourself, even if you've made mistakes and you've let the wrong kind of people, you hung out with the wrong kind of group, or had your judgment swayed by someone who wasn't the best person to take advice from. Doesn't mean you should be hard on yourself for the rest of the time. And you being hard on yourself could be the reason why you are starting to feel withered and flickering out, because you're putting all your energy into a timeline that doesn't exist anymore, which is tiring in itself. But plus, you're also weighing down your thoughts, which your thoughts can affect your body and cause you to feel sick and tired, and as well as fog brain. And to not worry about when your last breath is going to be. I feel like pile number 3 a lot lately. You've been feeling worried about how you're going to live. It was 4545 on the clock. 4s and 5s could be important, but you're worried about what you're going to make of your life and how long you have left to live. And your final self wants to let you know that that there's no need to doubt yourself. What you came here for in this lifetime, you can accomplish still. If you take the time to love yourself and fight against your doubts and fears, and fight against wanting to be hard on yourself and be a perfectionist, is that you will get out of this funk. You're not going to feel like this forever. Everyone has ups and downs, and sometimes even a plateau. And sometimes when we start to plateau, we feel worse than the up times because we're like, oh, we're happy. That's explainable because we're having a great time. Or if we're having a low time, it's like, oh yeah, things in my life aren't going well. But if it's just plateauing for a while, which it does because you need to rest. It's a rest. Like in music, there's that one symbol, and I think one of them is flat, and it's flat because it's a rest. And sometimes when we're plateauing, we feel like either we're not doing enough work to achieve happy and good things, or we feel like, oh, it's plateauing, that means something bad's coming along. No, it's just that you need to rest. And that could be the part of the flickering and withering out, as well as the burnout, because your body is constantly being, tortured. Sorry, that's a Vedic term, but it's the word inside the poem. Being tortured by repetitive thoughts, and when you're constantly being barraged by negative thoughts, you're not getting any actual rest. If you're constantly thinking about things you need to do in the future, you're not getting any rest. And when you're panicking or have anxiety, you're not, when's the last breath you took? If you don't know when's the last time you actually went and took a moment to breathe, then you're not going to have the energy to fight those doubts within you. So the fairies and the angels and everything that you are working with want you to know you are doing a good job. If you are dealing with spiritual warfare with demons and whatnot, maybe light an extra candle and just focus on your breathing while watching it. If you're more of a water person, go into the shower or the bath and take a scoop of water. When you scoop it, you breathe in and let it drain out your hands, and then you're just focus on that for a bit. If you're more into air work, you can definitely go outside and let your hand flow through the breeze if it's not breezy out, and you can afford to use a fan, then or you can even like fold up a piece of paper and use fan and just let it flow through your fingers, and every time you go up one way, breathe in and breathe out and let it pass through your fingers, and know that that you have that breath work. It wants you to do breath work. Your final incarnate wants you to work and practice more on your breathing, because if you're doing like spell work, if you're doing teaching, if you're doing any of that stuff and it's becoming overwhelming and you're holding in your breath, then it's not going to work. I know there was a Magic School Bus episode where Miss Frizzle was running a marathon, and they noticed when she wasn't breathing properly, the white blood cells and red blood cells and everything wasn't pumping and going to the muscles and working properly. So if you're not taking time to breathe, then your body's not going to function at its best capacity. And I feel like you could be working better, or at least feeling more calm and less worn out if you're taking time to breathe. Maybe give yourself it could be a little breathers and you need a break, or it could be breath work. For some of you it's one, for some of you it's the other. Find which one applies best to you. So yeah. And last but not least, for people who enjoy nature, I know it's still kind of air, but you can watch the trees' leaves as they go, or fly a kite, and as the kite's up there and you let out some twine, just or whatever those spindles are where they catch the wind, and you can like blow them and have fun with your inner child as well. These are only some suggestions. You might find other things that work better than for you, and that's okay. So pile number 3, I'm going to give you a yes or no question, or I'm not going to give you, you can come up with a yes or no question, and I will count down. You can pause if you need to, for, yeah, think about a yes or no question, and we'll do it. All right. 3, 2, 1. Okay, calm down. Pile number 3's final incarnate, please come through and give a yes or no to the answer, please. So we have no for pile number 3. And it doesn't feel like it's a negative thing. Like, just being told no doesn't mean that it's like set in stone or anything else like that. It just might not be the time, probably because you are in the middle of a burnout. And when you're burnout, you're not going to work at your best. So I feel like your final incarnate doesn't want you to work on that, because you are not working at your 100, because you can't be at 100 if you're not rested. And remember your mortality, because you're just human, right? Like, it's unachievable nature of immortality is even immortals in any sense of the word in history are not actually immortal. Now, like, of course, the energy may be transferred into something else, but even fairies end up, even though forever living, eventually do pass on. Vampires pass on. Werewolves can pass on. Ghosts can pass over into the light. You're only human. You're not the Energizer Bunny. You don't have to keep going and going and going and going and going. So if you feel like a turd, maybe stop forcing things in your life for a while. Some of you may work with the goddess Freya. Also the word Fae, so okay, other extra confirmation work with Fae. Odin. Hold. Put things on hold if you need to. Some of you could have a frenemy, someone who's not actually for you, that could be draining your energy and be an energy vampire. Like, whenever you're doing, like, they want you to do good, but not better than them, is a type of frenemy where they're like, oh, you're doing so good. Oh, wow. Another accomplishment. Oh. And they just don't feel like they're fully, and it doesn't have to be like a friend. It could be a coworker. It could be a boss. It could be a sibling, a family member of any kind that just might not actually, you know, jive with whatever you're doing. And it's like whenever you do well for yourself, they get kind of like, oh, but what about me? If they're constantly thinking like, oh, well, that's good for you, I wish I had that, and it's like, well, you could. It just didn't appear out of thin air. I had to work hard for it. And, I feel like there could be someone who's not excited for you because they feel like you just had everything handed to you instead of putting in the hard work, which I don't feel is true at all. So that's a projection, by the way, so laugh it off and don't take it to heart, or set up healthy boundaries, and like if you need to, cut them off. We ain't above the ban hammer here. Okay. We have the letters M, E, F, Q, R, Y, H, O, L, D. Oh. We have the and sign. Sometimes if you don't feel like, oh, I had something really good for it. Oh, well, I can't remember. That's fine. If you feel like you're withering out and you're not having that much fun, and like life, the reality of stuff is just getting you down, do something fun for no reason at all. Do it for the, and giggles. Do it for, for the and giggles, and just make sure you don't giggle and by accident. But yeah, that's all I have here. Don't giggle and all over yourself, but yes, have some giggles. Do it for the and giggles, okay? Just do it. You want to do something funny? You want to go into comedy? You want to make people laugh? You just want to, do arts and crafts and have a bubble bath or do hopscotch, color, anything, and people are telling you you're too old for that, or you should be more serious, well, give them the bird and do it for giggles and anyway. All right. That's all I have for anyone who watched all the way through. I appreciate it, you giving me time. And for the rest of you, don't forget to give a thumbs up and like, as that is the type of energy exchange I ask for with my free readings. And I look forward to reading your energies in my future videos. All right, remember to eat, hydrate, and have fun. Bye.